gentlemen, welcome back for another video. In today's versus video, we're taking a look at Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is making its debut on other consoles for the first time, so Xbox and Nintendo Switch 2. And today we're looking at the Nintendo Switch 2 version up against the Legion Go 2 in the PC version. And, maybe this is an unfair comparison, but, I think this is a chance to really see what the Nintendo Switch 2 can do. And I'll be honest, I'm pretty impressed with it so far. So let's just talk about settings real quick. The Nintendo Switch 2, there are no settings, so it's just like you just load it up and go, which, console gamers, certainly do appreciate. And actually in the PC version, there are very few options to change as well. So you basically just get a couple of options. It's basically I think it's like just overall graphics and then textures. And I think you have two choices, which are like high and low. And I will tell you, as we watch the footage here, Final Fantasy VII Remake, on the Legion Go 2, I did have some random hiccups and stutters playing on the high settings. I mean, you can see the frame rate looks totally fine. So we're pretty much around 60 frames per second. And the frame rate does kind of bounce around a lot, which is not a huge problem on the Legion Go 2 since we have that VRR display. But there definitely is some just weird framing issues playing at this quality level, and this is playing at 1080p, and we're playing on the performance mode on the Legion Go 2, and it's also the VRAM is set to, I believe, 14, so plenty of RAM on both sides, no issues with that. But on the Legion Go 2, yeah, just a little bit of weird hiccups. You can definitely tell it's a little bit sharper, on the image quality versus the Nintendo Switch 2. I don't think it's, like a crazy difference or anything like that, but it is certainly noticeable. Obviously, too, the size is a little bit bigger. So with a 16:9 image, which this game does not offer a 16:10 mode, so you're going to get a 16:9 image on a 16:10 display here, so 8.8 inches. So you're really getting about an 8.5 inch, give or take, image versus the 7.9 inches of the Nintendo Switch 2. So you get a bigger image if you played it on the Legion Go 2. And we'll see in this video, so every 5 minutes or so, we'll jump between the audio. They're both cranked to 100%, so if you want to compare the audio, you can do it that way. And the second half of the video for the Legion Go 2, we're going to drop those settings to low on both, which during this first 30 minutes of play, I found that to be the more just consistent, desirable version to play on for the Legion Go 2, just because it kind of eliminated those hiccups and stutters, at least the best that I can remember anyway. And I'll say, Switch 2 owners, man, you're getting a very good port. I'm very familiar with this game. I put over 100 hours into it on the PlayStation 5, platinumed it even. Probably the hardest platinum that I've ever got, because man, there's some really difficult challenges that you have to get for some of the trophies. Of course, if you're playing on Nintendo Switch 2, you don't have to worry about that, because Nintendo doesn't give a flying flip if you like trophies and achievements. They say nope, you can't have them. And of course, if you're going to play the PC version, obviously there's theme achievements, or so you can get those if you're playing it on PC as well. But yeah, I thought it's really hard. Maybe not for most players, but man, I thought it was really hard, and really fond, special memories. I was playing this game as the lead up to my daughter's birthday. It was just about a month before my daughter was born. I was playing this game, and I was just I'm going to cram in as much gaming as I possibly can before she's born, because, who knows if I'm going to get to play as much afterwards. So I really got to sink in a lot of time and hours and effort to try to get those challenges done. And they were super difficult. So if you are a trophy hunter and you're going to play on PC, just be aware. You have to beat the game on hard mode. And then there are some really hard, basically combat challenges that you have to beat in the hard mode. And there's one particular boss gauntlet of 4 bosses in a row. Man, brutally hard. At least for me anyway. If you're a really good, player, maybe it's not as hard for you, but I thought it was quite difficult. But anyway, this game is freaking awesome. This, when I played it at the time, I really never played anything like this before with the, it's kind of like action turn-based, so which I think it's awesome. I think they did a super good job of like modernizing a turn-based type game into a kind of real-time, but still, able to kind of slow down time and, pick your different spells and stuff like that. I think it's a super fun combat system. The materia system is like also how you kind of augment your weapons and your abilities, and it's super fun as well. Like you can just make all kinds of different builds in this game, and that's actually how I beat one of those boss gauntlets. I built like a very special build with different materias that kind of allowed me to really do a ton of damage to the enemies quickly. So yeah, you can really kind of build any kind of character that you want by using the different materias and spells, and it is just an absolute blast. The game, super high quality. This game and its sequel, I think, are a little different. This is much more linear, and the sequel, Rebirth, is got a lot more of like open zones. It's still very linear, but still like a lot more open zones and open world type activities to do. Not as much in this one, which I kind of like this style better. I love Rebirth too, but it kind of got a little bit repetitive on its open zones. Like you're kind of doing the same things every time, like unlocking towers and just doing a lot of the same type of stuff. But that game is also obviously incredible as well. So if you're playing this for the first time, you are going on a really wonderful journey. I think is awesome. There's lots of surprises in the game. So if you've played the original Final Fantasy VII, this is just going to be like a dream come true for you. And then if you haven't played Final Fantasy VII, a lot of people out there say that you don't need to, or that you do need to play it to have a proper appreciation for this. I don't necessarily think you do. I actually never played the original one when it first came out. I did play a little bit before. I don't remember if I played before or after I played this, but I played just a little bit of Final Fantasy VII, so I got to a certain point in the game, and then it was fun to kind of see all of that stuff kind of rebuilt in this game. So I don't think you necessarily have to. There's certainly more to get out of it, and if you played it when you were younger or whatever, you're gonna get like just a lot of nostalgia, and then like wow factor of like what they did to kind of bring this up to like a modern type game. But I think either way, you can have a ton of fun with this game. I don't think you need to worry about people's opinions on whether you should play the original or not play it. I think you should, if you want to play this, just go ahead and jump in. And you're getting this at a great price. I mean, $39.99. Yeah, it is. 5 years old or whatever now, or I was probably older than that by now. But was it maybe 7 years old? Golly, man, time. I think COVID just kind of took away a bunch of years from everybody, which is like it feels like 2 years when it's really like 6 or 7 years. But this game, man, it is totally worth playing, and it's just really special. The music in the game is absolutely incredible. As we kind of watch the different sequences here play out, I do think you can tell a difference between the two. I will say it's awesome on the Switch too to have HDR on a device that is $450. Because HDR, and if you've watched the channel for a while, you kind of know, like, one of the reasons I prefer the Steam Deck to some of the other, handhelds in its price range is because the Steam Deck OLED has that HDR, and it really just brings games that offer HDR to a totally different level. A really great example of that was in Dying Light the Beast, so if you haven't checked out any of those videos, go ahead and check out some of those, and you can kind of see firsthand. But obviously, HDR is supported for both of these two devices. Of course, the Legion Go 2 is an OLED display versus the Switch 2 is an LCD display. But I think the Switch 2 display is actually quite good. Obviously, you're not going to get that unbelievable contrast ratio and perfect blacks like you will on OLED. But I think it's a good display. I think the colors and everything look really nice. I think the HDR implementation in this game looked pretty good to me. I was kind of impressed with how good it looked. And I am super impressed with how well the game plays. And if I remember right, I think I read that they are running it at 720p and then using DLSS to upscale it to 1080p. So that's probably why you can notice a difference in the two image quality between the two games. I think you're going to get just a little bit of a softer image, because it's taking 720 and then doing kind of the upscale from there versus the Legion Go 2 is running it natively at 1080p. And because it runs so good at 1080p, whether it's at low or at high, I mean, we're running at high frame rates. I'm not sure what the stuttering issue is on the, running it with the high settings, because there really shouldn't be any bottlenecks. This is running Windows on the Legion Go 2. I have a feeling if this was on a SteamOS model, that maybe that stuff would go away, because there's just a lot of times on Windows when I'm playing games that I have these, weird, weird hiccups and stutters, and I look at the stats and I'm like, the CPU is good, the GPU is good, the RAM's good, the VRAM's good. I'm like, what? What's the deal here? And a lot of times I'll go and load up the same game on my Legion Go S, which is running SteamOS, and not have any of those same problems. So I think once Lenovo and Steam and Valve get a little bit further along on their development for the Legion Go 2 SteamOS, which is launching in June, I'm probably going to put it on this, because I think it's just a better experience. I find myself going for the Legion Go S a lot more. There you saw a nice stutter in the cutscene even right there. I keep grabbing the Legion Go S a lot more just because of its sleep-wake mode, and just I can grab it, pop it on, and I'm like playing a game in no time. Versus Windows, you're like, gotta wait for it to load up and boot up and load the Windows Xbox full screen experience. And then if you're playing on Steam, then you gotta load up Steam and then wait for that to go. And it's just like, it's just a slower process to begin with. And then, you get issues like with these extra stutters and things like that. It's just, I don't know, man, I'm kind of sick of it. So you guys know that kind of the idea for the channel is I am a traditional console gamer. I'm long history on Xbox, and I made the switch to PlayStation in this last generation as like my full-time platform. And I fell in love with the Legion Go 1 and handhelds, and I've been playing just a ton on handhelds. So that's kind of the focus of the channel is the handheld gaming, but from a traditional console gamer's perspective. For me, oftentimes I'm going to do remote play over native gaming. So this is native, obviously, on the Legion Go 2 here, but, if I loaded up the PS5 version and remote played it, I would probably tend to lean that route just because of the experience, and, it's just going to be better. I'm not going to have those hiccuping issues and stuff like that. But again, with Windows, when you do game streaming, it's like every so often you get these weird like Wi-Fi hiccup interruptions that just don't happen on SteamOS. Like if I do game streaming on the Legion Go S, it's perfect. I have no issues at all. And like when I had the Legion Go, even on Legion Go 2, and some of these other devices, if I do game streaming, it just happens. I've tried like every different setting and drivers and everything I could think of on these different devices to try to alleviate it. And it's just like Windows handling of the Wi-Fi, it seems to cause problems. So the only fix that I ever found that worked perfectly was actually just totally bypassing the built-in Wi-Fi and using a Wi-Fi adapter. And whenever I did that on the regular Legion Go, it kind of just eliminated all those kind of problems. So, but back to the focus of this video. Yeah, if you're watching this because you have both, maybe you have a PC handheld and a Switch 2, you're wondering on which platform you should get it on. I think this runs awesome on the Switch 2. I mean, I really have had no issues at all, and I think it's actually a great way to play because you get all the benefits of, the Switch 2 is a console. It's just a quick turn on and go. So it has all of those, quick sleep wake, quick jump into the game. The game has been really well optimized for the Switch 2. It's running super smoothly, and it's just really a joy on the Switch 2 so far. So between the Legion Go 2 and the Switch 2, I gotta say I might lean toward playing it on the Switch 2 just because of the stability. Now, again, as we'll see in the second half of the video, we actually, I believe we either just switched or we're about to switch. I can't can't remember. I've been jumping back and forth in the footage, so I'm not super sure. But the second half of this video is running on the low settings for the Legion Go 2. So we'll start to see, I think, a little bit more stability. And if you run it that way, we'll just kind of take a look at the footage as we continue to play out and see if we can start noticing if there's big differences in image quality now that we've dropped it to the low settings. We're still running it at 1080p, so I still think it's probably going to look better. But honestly, when I dropped it from the high to low, I really didn't notice while I was playing it on camera too much difference in the graphic quality. Now, again, whenever you're filming it, you're kind of like offset and you're focused on trying to, sort of stay still. You're focused on trying to play the game, you're just like, there's a lot of different stuff going on that, trying to make sure that your, camera's not doing anything wonky, that everything's recording right and stuff like that. So you're always kind of playing with like half attention, which is probably not the best thing to tell you guys, but that's just kind of the truth of the matter. So I don't remember any of the weird hiccups and stuttering happening in the second half of this video versus the first one. And as I continue to watch the footage here, I think it does look much more smooth on these lower settings. One other thing to note too is on the Legion Go 2, I did a regular standard playthrough, and when I started the Switch 2, I tried their like skip ahead or whatever. I was just curious what that was and what that was going to do. And basically, it seems like it just levels you up. So, like, I mean, you'll notice, like, I had, a much harder time in the battles on the Legion Go 2 versus the Nintendo Switch. And that's why, it's because I was running the skip ahead. So, if you want the true experience of the game, just play it on the regular without getting the skip ahead stuff, because it really kind of makes the game way too easy. Like this first boss battle that's coming up here that you're about to see on the Switch 2 and on the Legion Go 2, you'll notice a huge difference in how hard it was. On the Switch 2, it was just no problem at all. And on the Legion Go 2, you see me doing like a lot more, going to kind of get some health packs and stuff like that, or health potions or whatever. It was just much more difficult. And when I originally played the game, and having not played a game like this before, I definitely died a few times for sure until I kind of learned, better how to use the combat system and stuff like that. So, really cool opening premise of the game. It's, it's such a unique, like story in terms of like, you think about the world and you think about like terrorism and things like that. And in this game, I mean, you are the terrorist. I mean, obviously, the way the world is set up in the story, it's like the terrorists are the good people, but it kind of, it is really thought-provoking in terms of like, are you the good guys? Are you the bad guys? As the terrorist, it's like, is from your perspective you're doing good, but from maybe other people's perspective you're doing bad? And I think as the game progresses, you see like the sort of like consequences and stuff like that, and it really does sort of make you think about things from both sides and from both angles. So it's really just like so those concepts came from the original game too. It's like way ahead of its time, I think, in terms of like the story and the deep level of storytelling that is happening here, that if you really want to engage with it on that level, it's telling you a story that is really kind of thought-provoking and makes you think about things and look at things from a different angle. Now, obviously, it's like super anime, super over the top, like very cartoony and all that stuff. So if you don't want to think about any of that kind of stuff, you don't have to. You could just play it and have fun and not worry about any of that stuff. But it's really up to you if you want to engage on, kind of, deal with some of the philosophical things that the game is, talking about and telling you. I think you can get a lot more out of it. But even if you don't care, you just want to have fun and play the game, that's, totally fun too. I think that's absolutely a totally fine way to play, because the game is super fun. The characters are like very lovable characters. The character interactions are super fun. The characters are very over the top. Barrett obviously super over the top. Tifa and Aerith, And Cloud is Cloud, right? He's just very kind of, one note monotone, which I liked quite a bit. And it's kind of funny seeing like all the girls like all fawn over him, and he's just kind of like, just seems like awkward, like kind of like leave me alone type of a deal, which is pretty funny. So we're already in the big first boss battle here over on the Switch 2. And again, it just goes much easier and we're about to get into it on the Legion Go 2. And on the Legion Go 2, it's going to pretty much take the rest of the video, I believe. I think the video is going to cut off here at the end of the boss fight, whereas on the Switch 2, we were able to basically defeat the boss pretty easily, and the final 10 minutes of video were, just continuing to play through the rest of the stage, or not quite 10 minutes, but that, we'll see here in a minute. It won't take long to finish them off here. So again, yeah, I would recommend. And if you play the game and you're finding it just way too hard, like, I think you should play through it. I think you should, really learn the combat system and how it works and the different things that you can do. I play pretty haphazardly typically on this game. I like to play like more DPS style, like just rush and do damage type of a deal. But it will force you to sort of use dodge and kind of avoid contact as well, or you can just use potions or whatever, or healing magic and things like that. But once you learn how to play, I think you can kind of play however you want to. And the game sort of does force you to sort of learn the systems and learn how to play it. So I think playing it on the regular will do a better job of teaching you how to play the game and like how to adjust to the different types of combat and what you need to do to kind of get good at it. But if you just don't care and you just want to play on a story, yeah, you can do the skip ahead, but just don't expect any sort of challenge. At least if this first, 30 minutes is any indication, you can see the difference in the videos between, the standard start and the head start. It's really quite a big difference in how long it took to kill the boss and the effort it took to kill the boss, and using potions and getting hit more and stuff like that. And my playstyle here was the same. I mean, very haphazard, very reckless, which is, that's just kind of the way I like to play. I love just going at it. And Cloud's kind of like my favorite character to play with. I'm not a huge fan of playing with Barret. I don't like the distance combat as much. Now, if you really want to start to get crazy later in the game, once you start unlocking more characters, you will find that you'll eventually get 3 characters that you'll use at a time, and you'll come up with like different concepts of the 3 characters that all kind of bring something different to the table. Obviously, Aerith is like a super integral part of really becoming just like an absolute team of destruction, and you kind of use her for distance stuff, and she can kind of buff and heal and do all those sorts of things from a distance. And then you can use like Cloud or Tifa. That was my preferred group, was Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith on my playthrough. I loved playing with them. Cloud and Tifa can just do just an unbelievable amount of damage. Tifa really is the absolute DPS tank if you want her to be. She's awesome. And then, kind of using Aerith to do a lot of the stuff from a distance, where she can like build wards and stuff like that, where you can basically, if you shoot off magic in the ward, you can basically get a double shot off instead of a single shot for the same amount of what is it, mana, I think it's called, something like that, MP. So yeah, the combat is so deep. I just urge you to kind of play it on the regular and learn it as you go, because by the end of the game, you'll really learn all of the different trick. And actually, I learned a lot more when I did the platinum run, when playing it on hard, and then playing a lot of those really hard combat challenges really informed me far more than just playing the regular game of all the different things that you can do, like all the stuff with the wards and like combining the different materia, from one character to really complement what another character is going to do, and really just building your team a certain specific way to defeat some of the really tough enemies in the game. So yeah, playing it on hard and playing those hard challenges really you kind of have to learn that on a deeper level which made me appreciate the game like so much more. So that's kind of a super big strength of the game is like, you know, if you don't want to get super hardcore into the build crafting, you don't have to, but if you do, it's so deep and it's so customizable that you can really tailor your team and the combat that you want to do to exactly how you would like to do it. I think that is super awesome. So the game is incredible. I definitely highly recommend it. Again, this Switch 2 version, I think, is an excellent port. If the first 30 minutes here are any indication at all, if you have a handheld PC, obviously this is a Z2 Extreme with 32 gigs of RAM. It's running totally fine here. I would like to do another video versus as well. So maybe we'll try it on Steam Deck. Maybe we'll try it on Legion Go S. I'm not entirely sure which one we'll do to compare to Switch 2, but if you drop me a comment below, which is more appealing? Do you guys want to see Steam Deck versus Switch 2? You want to see Legion Go S versus Switch 2? You want to see Legion Go 1 versus Switch 2? Leave me a comment down below, and I can, for Wednesday's video, we can do one of those. So, yeah, let me know which one you guys would like to see next, and I will try to accommodate as best I can. So, if you made it this far into the video, if you like this sort of stuff and you're not subscribed, obviously, subscribing is totally free, and it is something that is super helpful to creators. So if you like this kind of content, please subscribe to the channel. I would super appreciate you for doing that. If you really like this content, and this is not your first time on the channel, and you've been back a number of times, well, first of all, thank you. I do appreciate you watching. You're the reason I make these videos. But if you would like to support on a deeper level, we do offer a membership option as well, and that gets you early access to videos. So basically, as soon as they are edited and uploaded and ready to go, you will have access to them. Also, that we offer a private Discord, so that'll give you direct access to me if you would like. So yeah, certainly don't have to do that, but if you would like to, that is super appreciated. And of course, if you're into handheld gaming in general, we do a podcast every Friday, which is called Handheld Rewind, which gets you all the handheld gaming news of the week, from everything from PC handhelds down to AYN doors and Brick Pros and all kinds of weird stuff. And it's also a chance for me to kind of talk to you guys about the games I'm playing, and maybe let you know about games that you might not know about, or chance for you guys to write into the show too. Tell me what you're playing, what you're playing on, all that kind of stuff. So if you are into any of that sort of stuff, please consider subscribing. Obviously, drop a like on the video would be appreciated as well. But I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching. Lots of good things to come on the channel here for this next year. I'm trying to step my game up in a number of different ways, just to kind of continue to get better and better videos for you guys. So your feedback remains absolutely important to the channel. So if you have any feedback at all, no matter what it is, like, hey, I don't want to hear you rambling on 30 minutes on these versus videos. Just put the games themselves and let them do the talking. If you would prefer that, hey, let me know. But overwhelmingly, it seems like people prefer the commentary, even if it involves me rambling and going off on tangents. I don't know why, but it seems like you guys like that better, it's fine by me. I'm happy to do it. So, as we kind of close out the video here, I think if you've got either one of these devices, I think you're going to be totally fine playing them. I would probably recommend, if you have a Legion Go 2, maybe try it on the high first and see, or maybe try a combination of high and low on the two settings that are available to you, to see if you can get a smooth experience. But if not, it seems like low and low. I think it still looks great, still looks good, and it was running a lot better for whatever reason. The frame rates really weren't that much different, but just wasn't getting as many of those weird, frame drops and hiccups and stuff. So, all right, guys, we will see you in the next one.